Alright, hello. What you were watching is a bonus video that I didn't think I would need to record, but I figured, may as well. So, for context, right, before we get started, obviously I'm throwing this on the second channel because it's gonna be a little bit disorganized, right? And I did already just do a run like this, and I'm planning to do more, like, I guess, fancier runs soon. But if I'm going to do this, I figured I may as well record it and actually upload it. It's just, I think, it's at least useful, right? So what are we doing? We're doing an 80 to 90 run. We are using the Turbulent Timeways dungeons for the buff, but I'm going to be using Follow the Arrow, obviously, because it's faster. So the time that you see on screen, if you see my recent stream VOD, which, I mean, it'll be on this channel, right? So you should be able to find it, where I tested Turbulent Timeways spam versus Turbulent Timeways buff into Follow the Arrow. This is roughly the time that I ended up getting. It's a little bit finicky because the way that I did that run is I wanted to basically perfectly simulate one character doing either option. Because oftentimes people will say like, oh no, you just didn't do dungeon spam the right way. And if you did it the right way, then it definitely, would have been faster because I know so much better than you, person who literally does this for a living, right? So I had a druid. I got the druid up to around level 82 by running 4 Timewalking dungeons. I then copied the druid over to the PTR. And then the idea was we continue spamming Timewalking dungeons on live servers. And then after that, which that run was like 3 hours, 23 minutes or something like that. I forget exactly. Then I go back to my copy of the Druid on the PTR, which is exactly where we left off after getting the buff. And then I use Follow the Arrow. And honestly, everything I did in that run gives the dungeon spamming method an advantage and tries to keep everything else as equal as possible. And the dungeon spamming stuff having an advantage is just because the PTR is a bit of a mess, and there's a lot of stuff that I can't really do. It slows me down. Like, my gear is scaled down to a fixed amount because of some, like, PTR testing stuff. The zones take really long to load because they don't work properly. And to top it all off, in the end, I lost about probably 10 minutes from that. So it would have been closer to, like, 1 hour, 40 minutes. But in the final 30 seconds of the run, when I'm turning in the last few quests in Harldan at level 89 with, like, an entire level's worth of turn-ins I'm about to do, the server crashed. And I don't know what happened, but like their PTR servers failed. The server I was on crashed. The other ones were still up. And at some point in the middle of the day, I'm guessing somebody at Blizzard went to work, saw, one of our 12.0.7 servers crashed. Well, we don't need them anymore. It's already live. So we're just going to take down all the 12.0.7 servers. So not only was that run like really flawed against me, it was still fast, but unfortunately, I didn't actually get to finish it. I got screwed out of the last 30 seconds, which, I mean, it's almost comical in, like, how insanely unlucky that is, but whatever. The thing is, I'm going to do it again. Obviously, I can't magically get another copy of that druid at level 82, right? Is what it is. That experiment tried and failed thanks to Blizzard. I did manage to prove the point I was setting out to make, but now we're just going to do the exact same thing again, except obviously I need to use a different character, and now I'm doing it on live servers, because there's no reason not to use live servers unless you're trying to make that exact specific point where I basically copy the character one-to-one so that there's no variables at play, just to demonstrate that, yes, this is still faster, there's no differences at all, so people can't say, well, if you would use this other class, it would have been faster, yada, yada, yada. If you had more gear, there was exactly the same variables in both cases, and one of them took over an hour less time. So, bare minimum, we did that, but I still want to get one full, like, good run on the books just to demonstrate this, and then I'm going to post a video on my main channel, which is like a mini guide explaining all this stuff. So I will use this video and that stream as, like, examples, and I'll have clips from it and stuff in the background, but here's the entire thing. So now, unfortunately, I wanted to at least have the timer up there, but we wiped the timer, we start again from scratch, but that's how that went. Now, I will say, there is some RNG present with the dungeons, so what I'm going to do, which I think is fair, right, is in order to make sure that I don't get, like, completely screwed by RNG, I'm going to basically, when I start the run, right, so we can go to Timewalking Dungeons, do this, I'll hit Find Group, and then I'll wait until the first queue pops, which I'm queuing as a tank, right, as Prot Warrior. Normally, it's, like, nearly instant. I mean, you can see near instant, right? Did that as a demonstration. Obviously, that doesn't impact the run at all. Like, nothing has changed from 10 seconds ago. Just wanted to show that. But I'm going to do that up until I hit, like, Enter Dungeon. Right, I guess I'll start the timer or something, and the moment I hit Enter Dungeon, if it is Brackenhide Hollow, I am going to leave, and then I am going to basically restart again. Because the reality with things like that is I might get Brackenhide Hollow in the 4 dungeons I need to do to get my buff. That could happen. And if it does, you know, so be it. But it is by far the worst dungeon in the Dragonflight pool. So I did, obviously, in the process of dungeon spamming, I did a lot of testing. I've gotten every dungeon multiple times. Ruby Life Pools is by far the fastest. You can pretty consistently get a time of, like, I was about to say, let's be safe. Let's be generous and say 5 to 7 minutes, just so I know I don't have to have people being like, oh, he said it. But realistically, you can, like, chop about a minute off. 5 minutes, I'm sure, would be possible with, like, super optimized times. But realistically, I think it's 1 minute slower than that. But that is still pretty fast. I do think that is not as fast as, like, some of the fastest time-walking dungeons can be done in other expansions in, like, 5 minutes or less. So Dragonflight is not the fastest set by any means, but it's fine. I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't that bad. And the reason for that is a lot of the other dungeons that I've seen, like Halls of Infusion, I thought would take a while, but it's, like, about consistently 8 to 9 minutes. The main thing is you can skip the frog boss, so that basically cuts an entire minute off what would be the time. First boss and last boss are still kind of slow. You can kind of just, like, hold W through a lot of the trash. It's not terrible, but it's definitely a little bit slower. Neltharis is just a little bit longer, but it also is about 8 to 9 minutes because you can just kind of pull everything into the boss. Azure Vault was a little bit weird, where I think I had runs early on that were very fast, where it was about, like, 8 to 9 minutes, and then I had one run towards the end that I think took, like, 10, 11 minutes or something, just because this boss, if you have a bad group, or this dungeon, if you have a bad group, can be a nightmare, just because there's a lot of stuff that if, you know, casts go off, if the mobs don't die fast enough, you can get, like, Chain CC'd, it just slows it down a lot, but I do think it's overall, like, fine, probably comparable to Halls and Neltharis, and Algathar, pretty similar. Algathar, I think, is, like, just due to some unskippable roleplay, closer to, like, 8 or 9 minutes. It's definitely easier, though. The only hard thing is, like, the first pull onto the Ancient, which, like, if you are tanking, in my case, like, I know how to do it, that won't be an issue, but I suppose if you're in a group with, like, a bad tank, maybe this dungeon will be a little bit slower consistently, but it feels fine. And then there's Brackenhide, which, like, I think this one is always going to take, like, 10 minutes or more. I had, like, a 10.5-minute run early on in my last test. Felt pretty good. And then towards the end, I was getting runs, like, 12 to 15 minutes, because sometimes if you have groups that just don't know what they're doing, it's a fucking nightmare to run this place. There's also apparently scaling issues, where some of the abilities are one-shotting low-level characters, like, in the level 20 range or so. So if you have a bunch of them in your group, then you'll basically be trying to 2 or 3-man it. Yeah, this dungeon sucks. So I might get it. Right, it's effectively, I don't know exactly what the odds are, right? But on the very first dungeon, there's a, 1 in 6 chance that it hits Brackenhide Hollow, and considering I need 4 dungeons, there is a good chance that I will, at some point, get it. And if that happens, okay. But if that happens on, like, the 3rd dungeon, well, I've already started the process on this character. It would technically slow me down, but it's fine. This isn't meant to be, like, an ultra-fast speedrun. This is still a test run, and the character will already be in use, right? Like, I can't restart it. I can't set my level back to 80. That's not possible. But on the very first dungeon, I can see what I get, and then immediately leave, and then nothing has changed. I basically just wait. Frankly, I could, at that point, pause the recording, start again in, like, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes, I guess, whenever the queue thing, pretend it never happened, and you, the viewer, will be none the wiser. The difference here is I'm explaining this to you so that you understand my logic here. And as to why I'm doing this, I think by picking up with any dungeon that is not Brackenhide, I give myself better average across the board, because then the worst possible thing that could happen is I get Brackenhide is the second dungeon and Brackenhide is the fourth dungeon, because you can never get it back to back. But then if I start with Brackenhide, then I basically have odds to get Brackenhide as either the third or fourth dungeon, which then overall gives me worse odds. And since that is 100% within my control, that I will at least take the opportunity to, hedge my bets a little bit. I don't know, like, better way to describe it. It's also the reason I'm not going to start the timer is because, in theory, what I would want to do, right, is the moment I go here and I hit Find Group, I would talk to Liadrin, I would start teleporting to Midnight, because we saw there, like, I hit this, and we're gonna... Okay, in that case, it was actually almost instantaneous, but sometimes it will take up to 5 to 10 seconds, even with a Tenkyu. And you can still do little things, like walk over there, talk to Liadrin. At some point very early on, whenever I have a moment in between dungeons, I'm going to run over to the engineering trainer in Silvermoon, and I'm going to learn engineering. And the reason for that is I have things like these goggles, which require Midnight Engineering. So when I hit level 81, I need to be able to equip these goggles. And if I have not learned Midnight Engineering, I won't be able to do that. But I can very easily do that in the middle of a queue time. So that way, in total, let's say like 2 minutes that I spend in between dungeons is not actually lost time, because I'm just doing little things in the open world and doing like outdoor movements in the middle of all of that. But I want to make sure that I don't like hit Q, talk to Liadrin, and then get Brackenhide, and then restart, and then at that point, something has changed, because now I can't just, like, magically uncomplete the quest. So, we got it. We're clear on that. All right, cool. So, that's how I'm going to go about it. Also, so I, like I said, am going to be using Follow the Arrow. I got to make sure I have this set up correctly, though. So, we're going to go to the alt route. You can see here, because I logged onto this character much earlier in the expansion, back when the campaign route was the only thing in Follow the Arrow, you can see it automatically still remembered my progress, which is good. And that was set as my active module. But now, because people have had this issue, you can see I say this is the campaign route. If you're leveling in alt, find the different one. So I can go here, and then I'm just going to show you this like intro stuff. This is more like if you're new to Follow the Arrow and you don't know what this is, like I still think it is, obviously download my add-on. It's really good. But I'm not going to be reading these things. This is my information for new players, but you can see that it explains all this stuff to do. You can check this. It marks it as complete. This is basically a reading comprehension check. So you're going to do all this stuff. It's going to remind you to turn on war mode over there, so I have war mode on. Cool. I have another reminder, which, believe it or not, this is necessary, that if you are getting ganked, if people in the open world are killing you and you cannot play the game, believe it or not, you are allowed to press this button and turn war mode off. I had somebody leave like multiple comments across multiple Reddit posts telling people to not use Follow the Arrow. It's the worst thing ever. It's terrible because... And this was his genuine reasoning. He got ganked in war mode. The guide doesn't account for the fact that people will just kill you in war mode, and therefore it's dog shit. This was genuinely the reasoning that this guy had a mega crash out and decided to like shit talk my add-on on multiple Reddit posts. Specifically because of that, obviously that guy was like not okay. Obviously he's dealing with some shit. But the fact that that was what set somebody off, and apparently they came to the conclusion that they could not follow my guide because they didn't have war mode on, I'm like, you know what? I should at the very least let people know you can turn it off. So I added this extra step here. And later on in the guide, I actually routed in, there is, if we look ahead here, for, where is it? Disable war mode. I added an entire step here to talk about how to disable war mode. In this case, it's specifically because this is the part where this guy, like, got ganked and was, like, freaking out. But it also so happens that at this step of the guide, basically, you do Abundance, which doesn't actually give you any upfront experience, and just requires you to complete a quest, which you'll turn in later. So losing 15% XP doesn't matter. And then you go straight into a Delve, which is instant, so war mode doesn't work. And then you immediately go back to Silvermoon. So turning off war mode just means you have less of a chance of getting ganked, and you're actually not losing anything. So I figured since this was the inciting incident for that guy having a mental breakdown, I would actually just make it even easier. So there's an entire step where you get directed to go to a nearby inn to quickly disable war mode, because it makes Abundance harder. I should note that for the purposes of this run, because I have the 25% bonus, and I'm going to be getting the 30% time walking bonus, I'm going to be skipping a lot of the stuff in this guide, because there's a lot of stuff I won't need to do. And it's kind of impossible for me to perfectly anticipate exactly what everyone's situation is, because another thing that might happen is, like, let's say you don't have 10 queues, so you're going to be doing a lot of the delves without the 30% bonus. It might take you like 15 minutes just to get into a dungeon. Well, at that point, you won't be getting as much early experience from everything else, which means you'll have to do more later. So then maybe you wouldn't want to skip Abundance. In my recent test run, I actually did Abundance, but in this particular run, I already know for a fact I'm going to be skipping that. I'm skipping a few other side quests that are routed in early, but as we get to those parts of the run, I will explain why I'm skipping it for the purposes of the speedrun and, you know, what I'm doing instead. But obviously it's all still in the guide, because if somebody doesn't have a ton of XP modifiers, you will want to do these efficient things in this particular order. And I figure that all the people who are trying to speedrun with all the fancy modifiers will watch videos like this to know how to adapt to those circumstances. With all of that gotten sorted, I'm gonna walk up to Liadra and we'll sit here, we'll get ready. So I have most of my buffs. I guess I may as well buff up now before I get started, just because worst case scenario, if I get Brackenhide, I just, you know, I waste one of each consumable. It's not a big deal, and I mean, we're hoping that doesn't happen anyway, right? My tempered pots here, we're gonna drink Alchemical Chaos, and I believe that's everything. I could get Augment Runes, but I don't really care enough for this particular run. I want to be in battle stance, usually. And these are my talents, for anybody that's curious. Why am I leveling Prot Warrior? Honestly, because I feel like it. I do think that there is a case to be made for Fury Warrior leveling, but I just really... like, if I was trying to get a Warrior speedrun, like you know, what is the fastest way to level as a Warrior, I might do it as Fury, but I think the difference is fairly minor, and I am, like, experienced at playing Prot Warrior. You know, I've literally played it for multiple Mythic Prog bosses this tier, right? It's a spec I'm good at, and Fury is a spec that I've only played, like, sparingly. So, I have definitely played it in speedruns before, but right now, I just need to get an example run done, and I'm very tired. It's currently 5 a.m. I just want to get the footage, and I want to play something a little bit more chill. So we're doing Prot Warrior. That is everything prepped. So, just doing a one last double check to make sure I have everything sorted. And then we'll do this. And then, like I said, the moment the dungeon's ready to go, I will start the timer. The moment, like, I'm on the loading screen. If it's not, well, if it's Brackenhide, then I'll wait. And if it is not Brackenhide, then the moment I see the dungeon load screen pop up, oh my god, there's no way! This game fucking hates me! And that's why I have that whole explanation. Honestly, it's almost poetic. I did the whole explanation, and now it's not just, now there's a reason. There's a reason that I had to do that whole preamble. Well, fuck my life. I'll pause the recording, and we'll try this again in 30 minutes, I guess. God damn it. Okay, I've unpaused the recording, like, it's only been a minute after I paused, but something that I figured that was worth mentioning that I meant to say in, like, the early yap, and then I forgot, but it just came to mind, is I'm gonna change my loot spec depending on what dungeon I'm running. And I meant to look at that in real time, and then forgot, because as a Prot Warrior, obviously I'd like to get shield upgrades, and if I get one from the dungeons, there is a chance that it would be better. I think at this level, right, blah, blah, blah. At this level, it doesn't matter. I'm mostly going to be doing, I think, let's do Fury loot spec, because if I get, like, an item at level 81, it might be roughly equivalent to this. The big thing that I need to get is trinkets. So, there's a lot of really crappy trinkets. Honestly, Brackenhide, this trinket is pretty good. especially for leveling. So if I got it, that wouldn't be the worst thing ever. And like Algathar puzzle box is an annoying trinket to use. Even Dragon Games equipment, annoying trinket, but there's no good trinkets that you can really buy while leveling. This is a character I played back in War Within, so I have this whatever trinket. I think it's from like Siren's Isle that was equipped, and I'm like, yeah, good enough. I'll use this. And then I bought the PvP trinket, which is like a few hundred golds because it's something. It goes in that slot. But there really are not many good options. So getting anything here, like Iridius fragments, whatnot. What could you get here? Mutated Magmammoth scale. Honestly, that would be fine. Any sort of trinket would be really, really nice to have. And then a lot of times you'll get a good option from Delves. So usually, eventually, you get something. If I get like one trinket from Timewalking, then I'll be able to replace this early on. And then if I get like any of the good Delve trinkets, like the Lights Company insignia, then that would be nice to have for the rest of it. It's kind of whatever though, but every little bit counts. And then what was the other thing that I was gonna say? I completely forgot. I was like, yes, there was something else that I can yap about here. Oh yes, I remember. So speaking of Delves, one of the issues with the run the other day being messed up is that currently we don't have Calamitous. We actually have some pretty mediocre Delve variants. This is... it's definitely not the worst day. The worst Delve day is the C variants, because that's Mirror Shine. Wait, no, it is... Oh, right, yeah. It is Mirror Shine. Okay, so that... It actually... Okay. No, it is the worst variants. I forgot about that. Yeah. I was thinking of the European Delves today, which are A variants. And that was the other thing. So I can look ahead at Europe to see what we're getting on the upcoming day. It's, I don't know, the difference between A and C is not that large. The really big one is getting Mirror Shine here, which this one really sucks. Delves are in a bit of a weird position right now for leveling, because obviously Delver's Call Quests give just a metric fuck ton of XP. And even the worst Delve variants, like Mirror Shine, like honestly, even this one, Collegiate Calamity Faculty of Fear is pretty bad. It's a good bit slower than the others. And then, like, Bombing Run is fine, but, like, Captured Wildlife is pretty awful. Honestly, both of the non-Calamitous versions for Shadowguard points are pretty slow. Not what I expected. This one is fine. But there are some pretty yucky variants here. So this, in my opinion, is like an entire 10-minute loss compared to doing the best variants. Now, for the average person, that's not that big of a deal. And I do need to make that clear, because you'll see people say, like, oh, with all the speedrun stuff, and obviously I always do my speedruns on a Calamitous day, because they're the fastest variants, and, like, yeah, some Delves are, like, an entire 2 minutes faster, ooh, which in some cases is twice as fast. Like, for a speedrun, that matters. But remember, even in the really crappy PTR run that I, did with all the things going wrong, it was still over an hour faster than pure dungeon spam, and optimized pure dungeon spam at that. Outside of having a pre-made group, which would have maybe, like, in the best case scenario, saved like 20 minutes. If you had a super optimized pre-made group, you could have done each dungeon maybe a little bit faster. But you can go watch that run. There's multiple runs where I'm, like, pulling the entire dungeon and just solo AoEing down everything, because Guardian Druid with, like, really optimized gear, like, I don't know if I showed it, but, like, look at my gear, right? Like, I have green BOEs, I have, like, enchants and stuff on them, and on my bear, I was just murdering the entire dungeon. I was doing 90% of the overall damage, just because that's how scaling works, right? In the vast majority of the dungeons I ran. And at a certain point, there's only so much you can do to really speed things up. If you had slightly more people, yeah, you could save time in every dungeon. Would that add up to, like, maybe 20, let's say even 30 minutes across an entire run? Sure, but any more than that, it's unrealistic. So even for an average person, especially an average person who's not getting consistently fast dungeon runs where they're soloing the dungeon and doing 90% of the overall, you are going to find that Timewalking is just, like, 1 to 2 hours slower than if you did Follow the Arrow, and even if you got the worst possible Delves, which I guess, you know what? As much as for real speedruns, I like to get the best elves, maybe it's a good thing that in this run, you're going to get to see a run where I do the worst possible delves, which is something I normally don't like to do, but I guess here we go. And there's a good chance that I might actually still fail to beat my previous record of 1 hour and 38 minutes, just because I'm probably going to lose up to 10 minutes from the delves being slower, and depending on the RNG that I get with the dungeons, that could lose me time. It took me 40 minutes and 30 seconds to do the 4 dungeons in the previous test run that I did, and if I get slower than that, then obviously I'm probably on pace to fall behind my 1 hour 38 minute run. And if I get faster than that, then we'll see. The other nice thing is that 40-minute, 30-second time does include a few minutes of, like, waiting in queue, waiting for people to, like, accept, and then, you know, they fail to take the queue. In times like that, I'd be able to, like, go out in the open world and do things like Legends of the Harroneer, etc. So it wouldn't be a complete loss when things like that happen. But, you know, you gotta adapt, right? We'll see. Another nice thing is in that run, I did not have the level 81 belts and gloves, which also, yeah, so that's something I should do. So I can do all warband transferable currency and move over Voidlight Marl. I'm going to move over just like 250. Okay, hit 9 instead of 0, doesn't matter. Can do that now. I forgot to do that, actually, so maybe it's a good thing. We got Bracken Hide, saves me like 5 seconds that I would have lost later on. But by doing that, then I will be able to buy 180 item level gloves and belts off the Rep Quartermasters for Harati and Voidstorm, which I should note, Follow the Arrow does direct you to do. Now, I direct you to do that at the start of Eversong, so in the middle of this purchasing level 81 gear, I put this at the start of Eversong because, again, I can't predict when somebody's going to hit level 81, but 100%, no matter what you fail to do, what modifiers you're missing, you will be level 81 by this point. So if somebody doesn't already know about this stuff, I wanted to make sure they knew. I'd say, like, you know, you should be 81. There's items you can buy off the auction house. This directs you, the arrow's like confused, because normally you're supposed to be in Silvermoon. It's trying to point you to the Silvermoon auction house. I tell you to go train engineering, because some of them, like this, require engineering, so check that. And then here. So basically, I direct you at this point. The arrow will point you to Voidstorm. I'm already losing my voice. That's not a good sign. Points you to Voidstorm. You take the portal there, and then after you buy the thing, the arrow will, or it'll direct you to the vendor, then it'll direct you to the Hrandar portal, then it directs you to the Harati Renowned Quartermaster, and then it directs you back to Eversong. So there's even, I have another war mode reminder. I won't need that, but I won't need much of this for the purposes of this particular run. Wanted to at least demonstrate that, right? Like, I've tried to be very thorough with this, so you will be directed to buy that at some point. Everybody should be able to buy that because it requires, for Renown, it's very early on in the Harati track. It's like Renown 3. If you do the campaign, which you have to on your first character, so you won't even be able to do the alt route until you've done that, you'll be able to buy it. This thing. Or no, what is it? Oh yeah, actually, never mind. It's Renown 2. Yeah, it's kind of impossible to not get to Renown 2. Same thing for, what is it? A Singularity. It's also Renown 2, if I recall. So everybody will be able to do that. Yeah, Concentrated Power. And then also there's a helmet off the vendor for Silvermoon Court, which is by South Royal Soiree. If you don't want to buy this, you can do that. Obviously, for speedruns, I still buy this because I can use it a little bit earlier. I don't have to go all the way over to South Royal Soiree. And this lets me, like, pre-enchant it. I can get, like, double haste, which is better stats. So it's a little bit better than buying the Silvermoon Court one, but I actually do mention, I have a note in the Silvermoon or South Royal Soiree section that says, the nearby rep vendor can let you buy that if you haven't already. So I've tried to be very thorough, and that will maybe save me a little bit of time because I will actually have that. Though I will say I do think Guardian Druid is better for leveling than Prot Warrior. Not by, like, that much, but, like, Guardian Druid is just one of, like, I would say the top 3 leveling specs in the game, and Prot Warrior is, like,
maybe in the top 10, if we're being super generous. It's good, but it's not Guardian. So I do think that I'll probably have marginally slower dungeon times, because I won't be able to just like pull the entire dungeon, pop in Karn, and just kill it all. I do have, yeah, I think Mountain Thane has pretty solid burst damage though, so I guess we'll see. But I still have 18 minutes of purgatory time left, so I guess I'm gonna AFK. Wanted to at least include that part in the yap. We have a very long pre-run yap this time around, but you can blame part of that on Brackenhide. I don't take full responsibility. Also means I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna buy another Alchemical Chaos because, you know, I only bought one because I figured, oh hey, if I don't get, if like you have to understand, I lost a 1 in 6, right? I gave that whole yap just because I'm like, if I lose a 1 in 6, I think it's fair to just like, you know, call it a false start and then wait 30 minutes, try again. But I didn't actually think I was gonna lose the 1 in 6. But apparently my RNG is just fucking dog shit today, so we buy another flask, I pause the recording, and I'll see you back here 17 minutes from now. Alright, we're resuming again. Now, it's actually been about 3 hours, because I wasn't feeling super great, so I just took a longer break. Now, the upside to that, though, is the daily reset is in an hour and 20 minutes. Now, I don't think the run is going to take an hour 20 minutes. I'm a little bit unsure of like exactly when to start, right? Because, you know, there's no way that I get like the best possible delves, right? Because the best delves are on the Calamitous cycle. But although the A and C variants, which is, so right now we have C, right? If I look at what's it called? Like it here, Mirror Shine, this is C variants. What I refer to as C variants. If you don't know, I'll, you know, give the whole spiel again for delves. I think it's always nice to reiterate this for people who don't know. So we look at, this is my most recent achievement. We look at this. When I say A, B, C variants, I call the first one A, this one B, this one C. It's just a nice device for explaining which one is which. And whenever a delve is active on one of these variants, all of the other ones are on their respective variants. So, you know, Leyline Technician corresponds to Academy Under Siege. This is what we know as, or what I refer to as the Calamitous cycle, because it refers to the Calamitous variant for Shadowguard Point. And that is important because obviously this one is very good, and it's especially notable because both of these are pretty bad. Calamitous is one of the fastest variants. These are some of the slowest variants, which is one of the many reasons why we always want to do our delves on the Calamitous cycle, because it's also pretty good for most of the other ones. Now, it's not universal, so I've talked about this before, right? And the big issue with the different cycles for the Calamitous cycle, the only one that tends to be problematic is Parhelion Plaza, because Parhelion Plaza, when it's on its Calamitous variant, is March of the Arcane Brigade, which is really slow. It's maybe the slowest delve variant. It's really bad. It's probably like up there with Mirror Shine. And that is particularly problematic because obviously you want to do it on, you want to do most of your delves on that day, but then you have this one outlier. Now, prior to the delve changes, you could just skip Parhelion Plaza. It wouldn't really matter that much, but now, obviously, delves have been buffed, so it takes up a larger section of the route. And the quest to do 10 delves has been buffed, which means that including Parhelion is really good. So ideally, you want to do it on one of the other variants. And then when we look at the other cycles, so A and C, there are some that are really, really good. Like, good example for C. C, I think, is a little bit weaker. This is the one we have right now. Ogre Powered is the fastest for Darkway. It's not by, like, a gigantic margin, but it is noticeably faster by, like, a minute compared to the other ones, usually. Maybe a minute or two. It's definitely the best one. And then, obviously, like, other outliers, Mirror Shine is one of the worst delves, and the other two Shadow Enclave ones are pretty good. Collegiate Calamity, this one, not as bad as Mirror Shine, but it is definitely noticeably worse than the other two Collegiate Calamity variants. And then kind of going back around to, like, Randar, Sporosaur Special is, I would say, the best variant, but it is very marginally better than Almoth Munchies, which is on the Calamitous cycle, which is why we never really mind that this one is, like, technically not its best variant. But yes, Sporosaur Special, very good. So, if we have to do a delve run on, or a speed run like this, on a non-Calamitous cycle day, then it actually kind of works out well that I delayed this a little bit, because now I can try and engineer this in a way where we pick and choose the best variants between A and C. And while I still think it won't be as good as if it was a Calamitous day, largely because you will never be able to get, with that cycle, a good one for Shadow Guard Point. Both of them are bad. That is a little bit unfortunate, and a lot of the other fastest ones, like the fastest Collegiate Calamity is the B one. Oh, also I set an alarm because I thought I was going to take a nap, but then I ended up not being able to sleep, so I'm going to disable that really quickly, and I'm not going to pause the recording, so it would take me, yeah, already disabled. But there you go. Okay, so this won't be perfect, but what I'm currently thinking is I'm going to save until the daily reset, which is in about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to save Parhelion Plaza. Another thing is, I know it's A next, right? You may be wondering, like, how do you know what the delves are going to be? Europe always has the next delve cycle. So Europe is, like, technically 12 hours ahead of North America, because their daily reset is around midnight on the East Coast for North America. And they get the next day's delves, we get whatever they get on their daily reset. So right now, like, I can go on my European account and check, I've already done that, and I know that it's A. Which is why, like, if I had checked Europe and I saw that it was the Calamitous Day, B, then I would have just waited. But I know that this is going to become Holding the Line, which is the best Parhelion Plaza variant. I also know that because it's A, Collegiate Calamity, which is currently on a pretty crappy variant, is going to turn into Invasive Glow, which is pretty good. It also means that Shadow Enclave, frankly, either one would be ideal. Anything but Mirror Shine is going to be, in this case, Trader's Due, which is significantly better. So I really want to make sure I do Collegiate Calamity, Shadow Enclave, and Parhelion Plaza after the daily reset. But I want to do Darkway before the daily reset, because Ogre Powered is actually pretty good. And then, honestly, I also, oh yeah, I want to do Harrandar before the daily reset, which kind of works out well because we always start with Harrandar anyway. So I would have to, if I wanted to do Harrandar later, which couldn't really imagine that I would in any situation, unless, like, maybe if I was starting it on A and then it was rotating to something else. The Harrandar or Gulf of Memory A variants, Descent of the Harrowneer, is bad, so I would prefer not to do that one. Even then, it's like, it's just not great, so whatever. But we're definitely going to start with Harrandar. And then normally what I do is, after doing Harrandar, there's, like, kind of two ways you can go about it. It's honestly a coin flip as to which one is faster. I think that's minimal. You can either do Collegiate Calamity, Darkway, and then Parhelion Plaza up there, or you could go into Voidstorm. I believe currently in Fall the Arrow, I have it set up to do up to Parhelion Plaza first. It's kind of arbitrary. Like, they are roughly equidistant, because you go one way, then you teleport back to the starting point, and then you go to Voidstorm. It really makes no difference. It takes the same amount of time, regardless of the order that you do it. But I need to choose one of them. Now, because I need to make sure that I'm doing Darkway before the others, I think I'm actually going to do a slight, like, variation on that. So I'm going to do Harrandar, then I'm going to do Darkway, then I'm going to do Voidstorm, and go over here. And then for Sunkiller Sanctum, it doesn't really matter. I think that the B variant, the Calamitous variant, is the best. These other two are, like, they're both fine. They're not amazing, not bad. They're just very, very average for core of the problem and not what I expected. And then Shadow Guard Point, I would have to time it at some point. It doesn't really matter because it's like, they're both so bad, and Calamitous is so much better that I never bothered figuring out which one is worse. Based on memory, I think Captured Wildlife is slightly better, but I also, like, again, I haven't optimized them. It's possible that one of them can maybe be optimized a little bit further. I think both of them are going to end up being a little bit slow. I'm still going to want to do it. I don't really think it matters, so I think all that really matters is that as long as I start the run by a point where I can do Harrandar into Darkway, honestly, that's it, yeah. Harrandar into Darkway, because then every other delve is either the same. Like, notice how I didn't mention Zulaman. The difference in variance here, while leveling at least, is extremely minor. The thing that a lot of people miss, I've seen... I'm not going to name names, but I have seen some resources that are, like, rank delve variants, and they do a very poor job of ranking it because they use, like, kind of arbitrary metrics that don't matter in like, any practical sense. For tier 11, I think, honestly, like, difficulty and ease of completion, ease of, like, completion speed, for most people matters, but, like, tier 11 is weird if you're ranking at that level, because, you know, tanks can usually do big pulls. Some delve variants can be done at, like, roughly equal speeds, regardless of what you're playing. Some are really easy for tanks and very slow for any non-tanks, because you have to pull, like, pack by pack. Kind of a little bit hard to evaluate some of those, but for leveling, completion speed matters the most, but completion speed when it's done, like, on average, right? And frankly, there's so much variance most of the time that any difference of, like, 30 seconds to a minute is usually inconsequential. The only thing you really want to avoid is the delves that take, like, multiple minutes longer, or the delves that are long-ish and have very little mob kill XP. And that's another thing that isn't usually factored in. So you get to a lot of those delves, right, that are kind of whatever. Like, some of the ones in Atalaman take, like, maybe up to a minute longer, but the primary objective is, like, involves killing mobs, right? Like, there's high mob density, you can do, like, a really big pull, cleave it down, and then hit all the objectives, whereas, like, some that could theoretically be speedran by ignoring combat are, like, only marginally faster, and then you would have to give up a lot of mob kill XP, so it really doesn't end up mattering that much. Like, any difference in time is made up for the fact that you get to do less stuff otherwise. Same thing in my experience with Twilight Crypts, though I think Loosed Loa is... I don't like this one. I tend to find that it's slow. I think that... what's the other one? Party Crasher? Yeah, Party Crasher and Trapped, I think, are ever so slightly better. But in my experience, all three of these can be speedran. There's also a case to be made, like, there's some delve variants that if you're playing a Demon Hunter, like a Twilight Crypts comes to mind, you can do a lot of, like, cheese strats and save a lot of time, but it has no bearing on every other spec in the game, because they can't do those cheese strats, and even if they can, it requires, like, a very complicated setup that doesn't really save you that much time, whereas Demon Hunters can just double jump and they're out of bounds, right? So there are some delves where you can abuse that to, like, do some skips, and then that makes some variants faster than others. Does that really count for most people? Well, not unless you're doing a run on a Demon Hunter, which I actually am doing a Demon Hunter run soon. But, you know, that's kind of besides the point. But yeah, with all that being said, I think with 1 hour and 10 minutes, which there's no way that this run beats that time, I should have time to do the 3 delves that I need to get done afterwards, and then everything after that is fine. So I should be good to start, and then worst case scenario, if I get Brackenhide here, then I can AFK for another 30 minutes, pause the recording, and then once I start, I will just basically ensure that before the daily reset happens, I have gotten those delves done. And even if I do those delves without the 30% buff, that's fine. It would actually, in that case, you know, be faster to just get a better variant in that instance. Overall, not a big deal either way, though. I think the bigger issue is, and I do feel bad about this, I'm keenly aware that this has been a 44-minute introduction, which, look, there's a reason this is on the second channel. I did not plan for this to be a long introduction, and I'll make sure there's a timestamp there so people can skip ahead, right? But I figure if you're watching a video like this, you're probably interested in the theory behind speedrunning as much as the speedrun itself, because you're probably looking to level alts of your own, and if you just watch me do, like, crazy shit and I don't explain my logic behind why I'm doing said crazy shit, then, like, is it really going to be of any use to you? So, okay, we'll give this a shot. No Brackenhide, please. That would be nice. Please, no Brackenhide. I'll get my... We're doing the same logic, right? My timer ready. We'll wait for the cue to pop. Okay, I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, nice. And then I'm gonna start the timer. I'm gonna close fall the arrow for now. And yeah, warrior. I can goblin jump here. A little bit of speed. I think I'm always a little bit wary about going a little bit too fast in front of the group in pugs, just because there is a real risk, unironically, that people will vote kick you out. And that's not ideal. I also just realized I don't have my damage meter working, which I would like to, mostly just because it makes it easier to follow along with what's happening. I also combat personal resource display. There we go. And then we'll switch this over to current segment. And then as long as we get the roleplay started. Unfortunately, some people joined the run and then just kind of AFK'd, which is, like, mildly annoying. Doesn't really matter. I mean, generally speaking, in these dungeons, I would imagine I'm going to be kind of carrying on damage. The moment I hit level 81, the scaling goes absolutely apeshit in my favor because I equip my stronger gear. And 81 scaling also seems to just be a little bit lopsided anyways. So I'm not sure why it's weirder at 80. It might be because maybe 80 is, like, tuned for War Within max level. And then their, the tuning is more aimed at, like, midnight leveling, so it's, like, a little bit more generous. Forgot to do Battle Shout. Yeah. But either way, I know usually it gets better at that point. And that was still a fast kill, and that was, I think, with one person trailing behind. The Rep Paladin's doing reasonable damage. This is one of those areas where, like, Bear Druid tends to perform well in these dungeons. Like, you have so much passive move speed here. So, I can hold W, and I can round up the mobs. And I guess it might not matter in situations like this, because what I often found in those Bear Druid runs is I would blitz super far ahead of the group, I'd round everything up, I'd, round the corner, LOS stack all the mobs, and then after doing all of that, it would take, like, 30 seconds for my group to actually catch up to me. Whereas here, the Rep Paladin... I can't talk today. I'm a little bit tired, bear with me. But the Rep Paladin is keeping pace with me here, so he's helping me kill stuff. Oh, okay. They pulled the boss. I mean, I don't mind that, especially, hey, if I'm not the one who pulled it, I can't get mad at me. I just, nobody got locked out. That's the important thing. Yeah, also, another big thing is Guardian Druid's single target at low levels is... I was gonna say, I don't know why I said at low levels. Guardian Druid's single target, just period, is disgusting. I think it's actually, at low levels, while leveling is probably... Because while leveling, it's more just a differentiator thing. At max level, right, like, the difference at this point, after all the changes between, like, Prot Warrior and Guardian Druid damage, it's not that significant, because with, like, all your Apex talents, and with, like, super high haste as a Prot Warrior, you actually can do pretty good damage. It's just, Guardian Druid has pretty much its entire meaningful kit at lower levels, and especially a lot of its damage is in its burst window, so you have more damage that matters on a single target as Guardian, like with, what's it called? Trying to think the word. Feral Frenzy, the cat form Heart of the Wilds. It just completely deletes bosses, and you have it up for pretty much every single dungeon boss, which is really strong. And also higher range, so one of the big advantages for Guardian Druid while leveling just in general, but also makes it work really well for situations like this, if you're just holding W through a dungeon, is as you go, you can basically just constantly spam Moonfire.
and that does relevant damage. So you're walking, moonfire. Oh, you hit a pack of mobs, thrash, and put your thrash dot on everything. Keep walking, moonfire, thrash. You hit another pack of mobs, and then once everything's stacked up, now I level as a Druid of the Claw, but you stack everything up, you pop Incarn, and then you start to get your big Ravages out. You just cleave everything down and annihilate it. But they've already been, like, chipped down by a noticeable amounts before you even get there, because you've been throwing out Moonfires here. And I've been doing that kind of with, like, Thunderclap, but, it's not quite as effective. But having this Rep Paladin here has made things a little bit easier. Because I'm not... What level is he? 80. Okay, yeah, 82. So, if I had to guess, he probably has... okay, interesting. So he doesn't have crafted gear, but he has gear from the previous expansion. So, it's basically, instead of having, like, multiple 180 pieces, he just has a lot of, like, 140-ish pieces, and it seems like they're all gemmed, enchanted, and stuff like that. So, his overall item level is probably comparable to somebody who does have the 180 crafted stuff. This time I'm gonna jump down. Ooh, was worried I would fall down there. That actually would have been a pretty nasty time loss, I think, because I would have gotten stuck. And the nearest path up is not anywhere really close. But thankfully, my aim is not that bad. Now, Notharis was a good one to get early. I did say before, Brackenhide is the only one that I would fully just call a reset for. But Notharis I would consider to be, I think, slightly faster than most things. I think Halls of Infusion is probably a little bit faster. Assuming people follow your lead and do the skip and stuff like that. But it's like very, very, very minor. I honestly think there is a chance that Notharis might be even faster. Because this has been... We're looking like at about an 8-minute time. And I think that's about Halls of Infusion. It does help, though, like, the Rep Pally's doing actual damage. Whereas in my experience on the Druid, I actually had to do pretty much all the damage. But notice how here, we have a group where, like, the DPS are actually doing their job. Everybody's kind of pulling their weight. Which is not the experience I had on my Druid. And this is maybe 1 minute faster on this dungeon than my average. So, you can imagine that, like, even if you had a really optimized group where, like, everybody was doing damage, it wouldn't really save that much time overall. You would save up to, like, a minute per dungeon, I suspect. I'm gonna do this, skip the Midnight Sunwell intro. Just doing this now, and then I'll throw myself in queue. There's a lot of stuff that I can do while I'm sitting in queue. So I'll have plenty of time. Long fucking loading screen. I deliberately played, or wanted to not play in the PTR to avoid shit like that. Okay, we're gonna do Eversong. Okay. So this is the nice thing, right, where you have a DPS riding out the entirety of the queue timer. It doesn't actually affect you. Ah, hey, Halls of Infusion, this is good. So this means that, at worst now, we can only get a single Brackenhide Hollow, which is within standard variants. This is why I really wanted to avoid that initial Brackenhide, because the odds of getting a double Brackenhide goes up by a lot if you get it as the very first dungeon. And that I think, like, the entire reason I did that, just to reiterate, and, like, if you skipped ahead to time starts and you don't know what I did, when I first started this, I did explain it beforehand that if that happens, it's what I would be doing. I started by queuing. I waited to see if I got Brackenhide. In the end, I did actually get Brackenhide. And so I just didn't start the timer. I ate the 30-minute penalty. And then I started the run again, and then we got the Notharis as the start. But the entire reason I'm doing that, okay, like, now you can see here, the damage in this group is not quite as good. So, you always gotta feel it out, right? Like, the mage is doing good damage, but mobs are dying a little bit slowly, so I'm just playing it safe. Especially this pull, the Expulses
I never want to be in a situation where somebody gets killed by the trash. Because then, you know, that's what'll get them tilted. That's what'll say, like, vote kick the tank because he's just making my experience miserable or something like that. These mobs also have a damage reduction that they apply, which is nasty, but that way... He interrupted. Okay, cool. Should work out. And I should be able to Goblin Racial... But yeah, so the main reason that I do that, obviously it gives me a slightly faster time, right? But if I wanted to get a super fast speedrun, I wouldn't be doing this on Dragonflight anyway. The only reason I'm even doing runs now is because I want to get example footage for the video I'm working on, the little guide video. And because, obviously, I want to get some runs done early on that people can use as a reference. It's kind of unfortunate that due to the order in which the Turbulent Timeways expansions are laid out, we're going to not really have... okay, yeah, I can mass taunt them in on me. Looks like they weren't dragging it in, so that works out. I couldn't remember if they obeyed threat or not. But yeah, unfortunately, the way that they have structured the weeks, we don't really have a lot of good expansions early on during Darkman Fair, right? And Darkman Fair starts this weekend, so I could even, like, if I wanted to get a faster run, which I am going to be doing a Death Knight run. I'm gonna ping myself so they know that we're going this way. But yeah, like, I'm gonna be doing a run with Darkman Fair, but it's gonna be a Death Knight run, right? Which is gonna be probably a little bit slower. And I feel like the main advantage to skipping Brackenhide is actually just to give a more realistic can't talk. A more realistic expectation. It's the best way to describe it. For what people are gonna get if they run Timewalking dungeons. Because, you know, it's one thing, you know, if I'm doing a speed run, right, and I get, like, a super fast time, you know, people are like, well, you know, that's unrealistic, you know, you can't really expect to get that time if, you know, you're doing it as a normal person. But the inverse is true, right? If I get a run where, like, all the worst possible things happen and I lose a lot of time, well, you could very much argue that is an unrealistic expectation on the negative side, and that most people would expect to have a slightly faster set of dungeons. And most of the time, you are not going to get 2 Brackenhide Hollows in your first 4 dungeons. It can happen. If that does happen, then obviously you're going to lose, like, probably up to 5 or 10 minutes. But that is pretty heavy variance when you consider that all of the other dungeons are pretty normal. The rest are not, like, that much slower. So I just want to eliminate outliers. I think it'll help to make this a more realistic time. Okay, come on. What are we looking at for the frog? Okay. I still don't fully understand how the frog patrols, but it looks like here the frog is padding, yeah, to the other side. And they all seem to know. A few times I saw people almost pull the boss on the first day when I tested this, but I'm guessing by now most people probably know, because there are a lot of people who are just spamming Timewalking dungeons, even if it isn't necessarily what you should be doing. And those people probably run this so many times that they're well aware of the frog skip. Yeah, this group is kind of slow, unfortunately. I don't want to completely run ahead, especially because I missed a kick on the restoration thing, but if I pull way too many, then I won't be able to get any of the kicks. Oh, shit. I thought it was the Gale Singer, it's the Ice Caller. Oopsie. Yeah, and this is what I expect. I'm not even level 81 yet, and I'm already kind of hard carrying the damage. We are here. I'm gonna try to drag the boss so they can get closer a little bit faster.
And just gonna spell reflect and just tank this. You can't. I don't think you can SR the damage. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but just reduces the magic damage. I mean, my health bar didn't move. I guess Execute's probably worth pressing while leveling. Because the main reason, so you don't really want to press Execute at like max level. It's not great, and that's mostly because Shield Slam with the Apex talent just does so much damage that like fishing for Shield Slam and Thunder Blast procs is just way more. But at this point, like, that's not really the case, right? So Execute's probably still worth the rage. I haven't taken any of the talents that improve it, though. Because it is still just really undertuned at the moment for some reason. But and we want to run straight here and kill the final pack first, because killing the final pack is what summons the mini-boss. And cleave down the rest of this. So far this is... Okay, nice. Level 81. I'm probably just going to go straight into the final boss here, though. So I will equip my... Ooh, okay. Oh, you're fucking joking. Oh, this is actually... I can't believe I'm going to lose like 30 seconds just to that. Because of fucking garbage hitboxes. There is absolutely no way I was in that, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Well, speaking of which, I guess any time I lost from that, I can make up for by equipping this shit. And then for the boots and helmets... Oh, that was a new appearance? Huh, okay. Somehow I never used this pair of bracers before. Alright. So I'm going to save a little bit of time because I get to use this stuff. I also... That there. I can drink my flask after I'm out of combat. In the end, I think... I unironically lost about 30 seconds because of that hiccup. But this was still about a 8 to 9 minute run. So very similar to Neltharis. At the very least, not a bad dungeon. But still, Ruby Life Pools can be done faster. So that one is the most optimal. Okay, we are at 2 out of 4. Screen. Getting some fucking painful loading screens for live servers today. We're going to go over here, drink this, learn engineering. And then we're going to go to Harldan. Just gonna equip this. And also, at some point, I'll need to apply an armor kit to my pants. I could do that right now, but, you know, may as well wait, right? There's no reason to do that earlier than I have to. I also, you know what I should do first? Since I'm 81, take a quick detour over to Voidstorm. Oh, shit. Am I gonna get hunted down? That's, as long as they don't, like, chase me. It has been a very long time since I've seen people just camping outside of the entrance to Voidstorm. I am going to take the portal to Harldan before I accept that. Just to be absolutely sure that I'm safe. Because I don't want to, like... exit the dungeon, and then, boom, I'm getting ganked. And I'll lose any time by doing this. I can also... here, by this. And now enter. Hey, Ruby Life Pools. Alright. Well, we don't get the perfect high roll, so actually this kind of works out well, because the ultimate high roll would have been double Ruby Life Pools in our option.
We don't get that, and that's totally okay. So that means this is going to be probably about an average showing. If we don't get Brackenhide as the last dungeon, you might be able to consider it a slightly above average showing for Dragonflight Timewalking, because we get one of the best and 0 of the worst. Just gonna run into the boss room. Now this, you could technically pull into the boss, right? Okay, come on, guys. Come on. Use your fucking eyeballs. Run into the boss room. Come here. Come here. Yeah, so this is the issue, right? Some people just have kind of tiny brains, and despite me pinging myself, they are... Look, we're tiny. Cool. I'm just gonna sit out here and just die to the mobs because I don't understand. I don't even know what the druid is dying to. So yeah, unfortunately, this is where, like, if you had an optimized group, you could save maybe, like, 30 seconds by pulling this onto the boss, right? But unfortunately, like, you know, we have druid here who somehow managed to die by, like, walking around, pulling extra mobs, and sitting there with threat. I don't even know. What is this hunter? The hunter has threat, apparently. Jesus Christ. This group is making Ruby life pools look slow. Come on. Come on. Why are we sitting in the hallway? Get in here. This is starting to annoy me a little bit. And that's just a bug where the boss's health bar doesn't update. And now you can see this is the level 81 scaling in full force, right? I think there's also probably an element of, as we saw, this group is not very good. So I'm probably going to be doing the vast majority of the overall damage here, but such is life. Good opportunity to replace my armor kit. Take the dragon. Another opportunity to save time in Ruby life pools, in theory. If you had a pre-made group, you could have one split up, like basically the group split up 50-50 in clear opposite ends of the wing. It wouldn't actually save as much time as you may think. Druid doesn't know what to do and is stuck down there. Just took the dragon, Jesus Christ. But it wouldn't save as much time as you would think, because in theory you'd all end in the back, right? And then you'd have to spend another 15 seconds running forward, so you'd save maybe about 30 seconds of mob kill time, but you'd lose like 15 seconds of travel time, so in the end it would probably be like a 15-second time save. So 15-second time save per Ruby life pools for like an organized group. How much time is that? I don't know. Depends, I suppose, on how many Ruby life pools you get. And then if you get enough Ruby life pools to make that a considerable time save, the bigger time save is that you're, you know, in theory, rolling Ruby life pools every other dungeon. I should note, though, I think I kind of touched upon this earlier, but even if you got every other dungeon Ruby life pools, it would still be slower than TBC. And some of the other wings, it's just right now the only ones we get in this current iteration of Turbulent Timeways is TBC, because Shadowlands and BFA are not fast, unfortunately. Is the healer Shadow? No, they are Disc, but they are probably a little bit clueless, because they are letting all these people die. The nice thing here is, like, doesn't really matter. The only thing that would be a bit of a bummer is I'm kind of worried that, like, I'm gonna get, like, told, "Oh, Tank, you know, you're letting us die," when, like, this is 100% a just, like, my health bar has not moved at all. And the healer is doing no healing. They are level 87 too, so it's not like they don't have, like, if they were a low-level disc priest, I mean, actually, they should be able to do it then you just honestly spam Holy Nova. But yeah, I don't know. Happens to the best of us, I guess. I think they just stood in that boulder. He just pains up themselves, dude. Oh my god. Well, we're probably going to end up getting a very average time then, because the only fast dungeon ends up being mitigated by the worst possible group. Holy. I got a trinket, though. That's actually very good. I'm gonna put that here. I don't know, like, how good this trinket actually would be. I think it's honestly kind of a... Out of all the possible dungeon trinkets, maybe one of the worst. But, yeah, fine. I'm going to lust this trash, actually. Right, want to make sure Ravati dies. I think Ravati is the trigger for the roleplay. I know it might be all of the mobs in the final pack, and I'm guessing Tempest Channeler is still... Yeah. So then, as long as we get that... I kind of lost track of how fast and or slow this dungeon ended up being. I think it was still probably in the 7-minute range, ballpark. Might have been closer to 8 minutes. It was definitely a very slow Ruby Life Pools, but even a slow Ruby Life Pools is still, like, among the fast runs. Fortunately, my buffs... Yeah, I don't have my shield block tracking, so I can't really tell when I have shield block, which is kind of annoying for playing Prot Warrior. So be it. Alright. Get me out of here. That being said, honestly, if I don't get Brackenhide in these final dungeons, we are, I believe, on pace to... we're on pace to beat my time from the Druid run. At least for the, we're almost certainly on pace to beat my time for the Druid run, regardless, right? Because that run had a lot of issues. And I wasn't, like, doing other things as I went ahead. So, like, in this case, this is a bit of a weird instance where I don't want to start this right now. I can clear out my bags or something. Just because if somebody takes the queue. But I don't really lose more than a few seconds there. Just because I can do this entire scenario in this 35-second window. If I can't, I just wait. I think I'll actually end up... Yeah, we'll leave queue and then I'll start a new one. It's fine though. Then we do this. Yeah, it would have barely fallen behind just because the forced roleplay here. We complete that. Now I can take this. Ah, we ended the Brackenhide. Honestly fitting. Yeah. It had to happen. Let's hope it's a good Brackenhide group. But yeah, this probably means I'm actually going to end up very close to my 40-minute time for finishing the first 4 dungeons that I got in my previous run. Which is... I would say that's about average. I actually didn't get a Brackenhide in the first 4 dungeons before, but I also didn't get Ruby Life Pools. So I had a very average set of runs. We have a good... I was about to say we have a good DPS warrior in our group, and then I realized that it was me. God, that sounds so egotistical, but that actually was. I did actually get confused for a second. Thankfully, I stopped myself before I said it, and then I said the dumb thing that I was about to say anyway, because I wanted you all to know how dumb my brain was being internally. Now, I don't normally like running Champion Spear, but I don't have enough talent points right now to take the good talents. It's just too much to afford. So, since I can't afford that, I'm not in battle stance. Fuck. Yeah, because that, for some reason, gets, wiped. Champion Spear's not bad, it's just that if you have all the available points, there's better things that you can take, usually. So, okay, somebody else is getting it.
Not mean to hit that, but whatever. I'll do this, and then I'll have Demo shout up again for the next pack. Somebody can get that, presumably. Just making sure that they are. Do this, because otherwise the patrol is just going to block us anyway. May as well do a big pull. Gotta interrupt that guy so he gets in the cluster. I mean, I will say, you know, the Boomkin's doing good damage. This actually might end up being a decently fast Brackenhide. Is the Druid gonna sit back there and get that one? Yeah, Druid knows what's up. Okay, I mean... Okay, good, 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 good. Yeah, we are, I don't know where they're going. Somebody got lost. I think maybe they didn't realize that we had gotten it all. Didn't need to go back. I need to make sure I'm focusing Trick Totem. Because they're gonna do the heal. Alright, I'm gonna test my theory. I think that with a coordinated group, left side's faster. That is my belief. Now, the last time I tried this, I honestly didn't feel that bad, but I was in a group that was, like, completely fucking lost and pulled a lot of extra shit. I did just walk into a trap, though, so, like, you know, that one's on me. But I do honestly think this is not bad. There's reasons why you don't do this in M+, of course. It sucks as a regular dungeon path, but if people, like, you know, people don't do what these guys are doing, if they, like, continue running ahead, they didn't. And now, like, they're sitting back there fighting a single mob. This is why. It's like, if people just run, this is not bad. Like, okay, we walk up here. I'll pull this mob. Walk up here, we hug this. I can actually just charge directly up that cliff, right? It's overall a little bit less running than the other side. And in the end, you have to pull a few extra mobs, right? Like, the reason why this doesn't work is because the M+ routes are built around assuming that you have, like, you skip a lot of trash to get, like, more accurate percent, right? But here, you know, pulling more mobs, like, it's not bad. More mobs, more mob kill XP. So extra mobs is not necessarily a bad thing. Unfortunately, also, a lot of people do exactly this. Come on, fucking keep up. So people are like, a singular mob is trailing behind us. We must completely turn around, walk 50 feet the other direction to kill the singular mob. Like, no, dude, just fucking let it chase us. Especially considering we're doubling back in that direction. So this is where I do think that with a route like this, you can make Brackenhide not that bad. But people just... People are so set in their ways from what they remember doing in Brackenhide back in, like, M+, and M+ strats don't always translate into leveling dungeon strats. The other thing is, like, the final section... The final section on M+, you always just skipped. So you pulled a lot of stuff early on in M+, to make sure that you didn't have to do any of the mobs in the final section. And it was really easy to skip the final mobs if you did... gut shot last, because you could just like CC one and then walk around the side. But here, we ideally want to just hold W. Like, we don't actually want to be forced to skip anything. That would be bad. And you don't have to skip any of the stuff if you kill Treemouth second. Now, the mobs are basically actually impossible to skip because they will charge at you. There's like a little RP gauntlet, but it's not like true RP. You can just kind of round them all up and hold W into the final section. But obviously, if you're trying to skip mobs in M+, that makes it a really, really, really bad section. If you're trying to do a leveling run, yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's just yet another hold W, pull everything, like we're doing for the rest of the dungeon.
I do think the difference is probably negligible, but I think that difference could make, like, a minute or two time save. It could turn Brackenhide from, like, a 12-minute dungeon into a 10-minute dungeon, which is a lot closer. Also, you have, like, here, somehow they got all confused and turned around and started going the opposite direction. Like, the Demon Hunter started walking back from the place we came. I mean, unfortunately, Brackenhide is... Yeah, people get lost easily, so... What are we gonna do? I want to kill one War Scourge, that way I can kick the other one. And it does the fear. Okay. It did the whirlwind anyway. Alright. Yeah, see? They're doing that thing again. Singular mob sitting in the middle of nowhere! Oh no! Oh no, we gotta drop everything and kill it! What are we gonna do? Singular mob! It looks like this time when I pinged myself, they were like, okay, yeah, I understand now. Don't drop everything to kill the singular mob, like, keep running. Alright, the singular mob will catch up to us. It's fine. I'm pretty sure it's still back there, but, like, that's the thing. You know, it'll reach us. We drag it into boss and kill it. Maybe they did finish it, I don't know. Yeah, okay, it actually is still there. But see, that's the thing, right? Like, oh no, it's sitting in the corner, spam casting. But yeah, that was... This is, I think, roughly, after the roleplay, and when I left the dungeon is where I stopped the timer. But we ended up roughly 3 minutes ahead of my... Okay, I can't loot this while in combat. I actually do want to loot this because I want to see if I got the trinket. Which would have been a slight upgrade, but I didn't. That's fine. Yeah, so we ended up about 3 minutes ahead of my druid run, which is a pleasant surprise considering I thought that I personally carried the dungeons a little bit harder on my druid. I'm going to check... We'll open up Fall the Arrow again. We'll check Shulka Litya. It's not a good set of dailies, so that's fine. Okay, I'm going to skip to Grudge Pit. So there's all the stuff that I just did, the Legends of the Heroneer, that's contained in this step here, entering Harrandar. But, you know, you're supposed to do it in order, right? I mean, the reality with something like Fall the Arrow is, obviously, the main thing is the route, right? Once you've done the route a few times, I do think that most people should have enough, you know, understanding of it to be able to just kind of do it passively without... I'm going to take Holy Bouncing and Manzate. Without having to follow along. Like, the entire thing is mostly just a set of guide rails to teach people who don't really know what to do, like, every little thing that they need to know. But, you know, I've been doing speedruns for years, and obviously I didn't have Follow the Arrow, I had to create the thing myself. But, like, I've always memorized it, and I would like to think that if you do it enough times, you can too. Also, notice, like, I think Guardian Druid is better for killing stuff compared to, you can see we have the buff. I think Guardian Druid's better for killing stuff compared to, like, Prot Warrior at lower levels, but I am just completely shredding these mobs. And if you look at the Guardian Druid run, like, I was killing them decently quickly, but they were not dying this fast. And that's because right now, my item level is 157, and when I did these runs in Guardian Druid, in the previous test, I was scaled to... I think item level, like, 104 or something like that. Because there's, like, some scaling aura on the PTR that makes you considerably weaker. Okay. Shit. I thought I got them all. I did not. Okay, now this is the one where it sends the big... Oh no, this one, okay. Shit. I don't do this one a lot, so I forget the order. I do remember there's a way that you can save a little bit of time here. on the next objective. So, I used to think that the B variant for Grudge Pit, I still think is the fastest. The other ones, I think, are a little bit slower. But I used to think that it was, like, roughly equal between this one, the Light Bloom one, and whatever the other one is, I think Dastardly Rotstock. But then I found an optimization for the Light Bloom one, which I'll show in a little bit, that has saved me about, like, 30 seconds to a minute. And as a result, I think this one is slightly better than Dastardly Rotstock. It's still not the fastest, but it is better than nothing. Nice. So they're gonna chuck out these things. It's this here. So I want to quickly run over here. I can stun them if I'm fast. Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate. That one is really hard to get. I was like, oh, maybe I can. I think I missed my shockwave on the Chloromancer, which is unfortunate. But then here's the big thing. You get that, and then you can actually run over this to just directly go to these mobs. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to get this, but I just slowed them. Yep. And then if you do that, they all despawn, and the final boss is up. So that saves you from having to run all the way across. And that is something where, like, I mentioned that Demon Hunters can do certain skips and delves, but that skip can be done on literally anything. It doesn't need to be a Demon Hunter. Which is why I think it's particularly good. I am gonna... Shit. Should have looked away. Thought I'd get the execute off and kill it. I'm gonna loot the delve chest here because there's no roleplay, and if I get a trinket, that is quite good. You want to loot at least one delve chest to get that primeval remnant. Alright. I forgot to set my Hearthstone to the Harrandar Inn. But honestly, that's like a 5 to 10 second time loss. It's extremely minimal. The main thing is it saves you from having to use Dragon Riding Vigor to get over here, which shouldn't really lose any time, but it does reduce the risk of you messing up. Because obviously you want to... It looks like this will actually have perfect vigor. What a lot of people don't know about Dragon Riding... Oh, fuck that up. I think we're fine, though. Yeah. Dragon Riding, you can get at, like, mostly max acceleration, but as you are accelerating, you actually move at a slightly faster speed. So, if you burn vigor to stay at, like, that max acceleration speed a little bit longer, it does save you time. Okay, we want Spore Source Special, so we want to do these things. Okay, come on. If I'm not in combat, it doesn't kick. It's annoying. Gonna run to the ends here. This one is fast, but I will be honest, I have not practiced it as much, because normally I just do all Moth Munchies. So I'm a little bit rusty. Okay, we gotta kick these things in. Just do that. Should be fine. I should be able to run up ahead. I just need to do a big pull here with the Sporosaur. And kick these things in here to kill it. And then just kill these mobs to get to the ends. Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit faster than all Moth Munchies, but the difference is a lot lower. Okay, so what do I need to do after this? I think all I need at this point is I need to make sure I do Dark Way for Ogre Powered. And then daily reset in 20 minutes. Okay, I actually need to kill these mobs so that I can our Cantina key out of here. Okay, I think I can leave Delve and then our Cantina key. It's like 5-second time loss, not a big deal. And then I'm going to set my hearth here. I don't really know if it'll matter. It probably won't. But my hearth is right now like set in Orgrimmar, so either way, this is going to be a more useful Hearthstone location. Okay, bind your Hearthstone. Go Darkway. Shit, I fucked that flap up. I don't hit anything. Alright, Darkway tier 1, and then we do Voidstorm after this. Okay, do this, get the Valera buff. You don't know, the Valera food buff stacks with stuff. So that's fun. And here, all we need to do is kill the arcane guys. Okay, Pangolin. This actually would be... I'm going to stop here and kill this, just because killing this would give me a move speed buff. So that as I hold W through the rest of this, it's a little bit faster. The aberrations will sometimes reset. So I want to make sure that whenever I get to one... Want to kill that fast. Okay, Valera one-shot that. Nice. That got one-shot. Now we hold W. And this is where the Pangolin gives you a stacking move speed buff. Very minor, but this stealth actually has a lot of running, so... It's, just nice to have. Which is also why I'm just continually running to keep ramping up this move speed buff. Okay, Aberration dead. And... okay. I really need that Aberration to die. I'm hoping to get a proc. Yeah, that'll do. Charge in, do this, this, this. In theory, the fastest way for me to get to Voidstorm would be to Wormhole Generator there. But that's going to be impractical, so I need to drop combat. I won't be able to really easily do that. So I'm gonna have to go over here. I got actually a Withered Saptor's Paw. That's a good trinket. Okay, please get out of combat. Yeah, all the mobs are trailing behind, but I should be able to do this. Then let's just leave Delve, and we could just fly to the Voidstorm portal. Alright. The other nice thing is, because now I have 2 good trinkets, I actually don't need to loot any of the other Delve chests. Won't really give me anything of value. I've also already picked up... Ah, shit. I hope I don't get ganked here. Okay, the gankers are gone, it seems. I'm gonna ignore this. What's it called? The quest of Born Killer is worthwhile if you are actually doing the rest of the stuff. But I'm not going to be doing enough in Voidstorm to get value out of it, so it's not worthwhile. Let's see. Something that I need to determine is clear buff. You have to get it every time you enter the delve. Something that I need to figure out is how much extra I need to do. So I think I probably overshot a little bit when I was doing my turn-ins on my character the other day, the druid. So I probably could have done a little bit less. That being said, I did do Abundance, and I think this time I'm going to skip Abundance. And this time I'm probably... I would like to do Southroll Soiree. Or at least check for it. Like, I'm not going to do a lot of stuff there. So I think I'm going to... I was going to say I'm going to skip Voidstorm, but honestly, these initial quests are very good. That first 3 set of quests. There's no reason not to do them. I think especially since I'm skipping Abundance. That one I did decide is not worthwhile. I will be in war mode, but it's probably fine. Also, if I get ganked, like, obviously that sucked, but it's not the end of the world. So I could just, like, give up on the quest. The buff, the Timeways buff still persists through death. So it's not a big deal if that does happen. I need one more crate, which I believe is towards the end. I gotta say, actually, this one... not what I expected is... Well, I was gonna say faster than I expected. I think, yeah, this... I don't necessarily know if this is faster, but it might be, like, roughly on par with, Gravitational Effect, which is the one I normally do. Okay, that's actually rough. I'm missing out on literally 2%. So that, I'm gonna lose, like, 30 seconds, too. I also... or something. Yeah, and the last boss is weird because it's these fucking guys, which I don't know. I'm honestly not sure if these are faster or slower than a regular boss. I think probably a little bit faster, but... because you can AoE them down, right? So you can view it as them taking, like, roughly 2 times damage. Like, yeah, that was pretty fast. If anything, I don't really think the time difference is noticeable. One of my armrests is being annoying right now on my chair. Are we serious right now, dude? Fucking dickhead. At least he's not killing me. Gonna fix my armrest here. Okay, there we go. Morning. Okay. Let's grab this. So far, I don't see anything. Bit of a small pull. I think somebody probably came through here and killed some of the mobs, but I mean, this is fine. More than enough to complete the quest, and you really want to do this on, like, 3 pulls at every single one of the... Okay, apparently those mobs have more health than normal. I think, yeah, we'll do this. Hello? Hello? Multiple heroic throws aren't enough to get threat. bonus objective. And do the same thing. Big pull around this relic. We need 3 mobs. One of them is in that pack. So if I run these up, this, remove the shadow graphs while I wait. Okay, and that is, I believe, yeah, everything I need. I'm gonna do this because it's technically, this quest isn't a lot of XP, but it gives immediately quest, this one. Oh, no, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I thought that was 2 separate quests. Oh, well. Lost 15 seconds. We're fine. Skip ahead to Shadowguard Point. So, like I said before, not doing Abundance here. It's fine. I still think in most cases you'll want to do Abundance. I think for most people would find Abundance to be easy for them. The nice thing about Abundance is it's a very fixed time, right? Like it is, you know, it's 3 minutes. As long as you can do it in 3 minutes, which I don't really think it's that hard, you get the full value out of it. Abundance is just like, for me, the problem with it being a fixed 3-minute time is there is absolutely nothing, come on, absolutely nothing that I can do to expedite the process. Come on. So Champion Spear is a little bit of a movement thing here. Okay, actually, I want to avoid combat so I can deactivate these. Nice. And now I just need to find more beasts to deactivate. This one, I do remember there's some that require... I really don't understand what the person who designed this was thinking. There are some of these beasts that require 2 pylons to activate 1, and others that require 1 pylon to deactivate 2. So it's just so obvious which ones you want to interact with. But that just kind of makes it a massive pain in the ass. Okay, and then we just find... yeah, the other one is over here. That's... and then I need to fill the bar. Okay. Then go collect this thing. And... very least, okay, that's a little bit of a shortcut there. So this section, you don't actually need to kill anything. You just need to interact with the researchers. Memory serves on how the other one goes. This may be marginally faster than whatever stolen mana is. Thing is, I think I need to be out of combat for this, right? Yeah. So I gotta make sure that I round these mobs up, and then I kill all the nearby ones, and then I think I can get that cast. Nice. And yeah, that should activate the final boss. Okay. It's gonna be a little bit annoying just because I can't mount here, but I think it's honestly just gonna be faster to run on foot. I can use this as a little bit of a speed boost. If I'm really fast at killing this guy, I might be able to leave the delve before the mobs catch up to me. So I'm going to do this. And we're going to try really hard to burn. Yeah, one of them's gonna catch up. The ethereals are pretty fucking fast. Is that... Can't do that right now. It's fine. It's, like, extremely minor. In fact, now... I was actually too fast? Yeah. Too fast? 5 seconds left in our Cantina key. It's kind of funny. Alright. So it is still... This is actually awkward. I'm actually so far ahead of schedule now that the delves have not switched over. And I've done both Harrandar, I've done both Voidstorm, I've done Darkway. Wow, okay. Good problem to have, I think. Honestly, at this point, I'm gonna... I hate to do it, but I'm gonna close Fall the Arrow, and we're gonna play this one by ear. Because, obviously, I'm going very off-script at this point. But what I now want to do is I have 5 minutes where there's nothing else I need to do. In fact, actually, you know what? I am gonna reopen Fall the Arrow. I'm just gonna do these initial quests in Eversong. I'm going to skip to this next step. I'm not going to pick up that first quest. I'm doing this outside of War Mode, partially to avoid problems, but also to, No, you know what? Well, so the main reason I turned it off is for South Rails, and then I'm like, oh, well, I should naturally pick up South Rails later. But what I want to make sure I do is I pick this up now. I'm not even going to bother picking up the side quests. It really doesn't matter. I'm not going to have time to do it. The main thing, yeah, so I want to see where the Fortify the Runestones quest is. And... I'm kind of bleeding time here, but... Like, it's just, I know for a fact that, like, I'm still getting experience. I will need at least a little bit of experience to cover this gap. Like, a tiny bit. And getting South Rails will basically cover the entire remainder. So if I fly here and this is almost finished, then that would be optimal. Unfortunately, yeah, it hasn't even started yet. Fuck. Alright. Alright, lost 2 minutes. It's fine. Zulaman delves are roughly equal for both of them. Let's hope we high roll and hit one of the 2 delves. Good enough. Yeah, I mean, really all I lost there, I lost 2 minutes, but I gained, right, I potentially gained, like, probably 5. And there's, like, I need something to do as I wait for the day to tick over for the Eversong delves. Like, I will lose way more than 2 minutes if I do, like, Mirror Shine. And, like, the Collegiate Calamity stuff. So we're just doing this in an inverse order. And what I'm actually going to do here is... So I'm doing Zulaman first. And I'm going to... I'm going to do Twilight Crypts, and then I'm going to set my Hearthstone to Amanisar Village. That way, none of this travel time is actually lost. Because this is travel time that I would have to do later on. So if I set my Hearth to Amanisar Village, which, like, normally I would only need my Hearthstone to turn in South Rails Soiree, as, like, a little bit of a time save. But if I'm not doing South Rails, then, you know, what do I need it for? It doesn't actually matter. Yeah, I've gotten almost all the frogs, so at this point it's just... I think this is actually... Did we get the frogs? There it is. Now it's just fill the bar, kill mobs. Which I'm doing a gigantic pull. And I'm just gonna... Giant Curse Bullfrog does actually count. Interesting. these mobs are evade bugging. That's fine, honestly. It's ideal, because they're going to snap to me. There's decent mob density down here. One of the other nice things about this is you can kind of just hold W in any random direction. Because once you hit 100%, a frog spawns that teleports you to the final objective. I might have enough in terms of mobs trailing me. Yeah, I do. So we talk to Mojo, teleport to the final boss. So, this one I kind of like. Honestly, I think all the Atalamon ones are pretty similar. They all have their own routing quirks, though. Honestly, I really like Atalamon for that. It's one of the few instances in which they made all three delves, like, all three variants, feel pretty good. Like, there are some delves where it's like, you know, Mirror Shine. I don't hate Mirror Shine as a variant, because I think it's at least an interesting concept, but it's an interesting concept that is, like, very fucking slow. And that kind of feels a little bit bad, right? It's like, okay, yeah, sure, I get it. You did something creative with it. You know, you have this cool concept. You wanted to play around with it. I don't hate that as an idea, right? But it does kind of make it so it feels bad to do Mirror Shine. But one of the things that I think they really succeeded with in Atalamon is that all three of the variants feel quite unique, except they have, like, different ways to route each one of them. Like, none of them feel bad to do. They're all, like, roughly the same speed, but they feel unique. And that's hard to pull off. It's not easy to really make that work. So, you know, credit where it's due. Alright, we have, we've gone over into the new set of delves, so we get Party Crasher. Twilight Crypts, I'm not a huge fan of this delve, but I will say it is kind of similar to what I just described with Amanizar Village, or I fucking can't talk, with Atalamon, where all three of them feel kind of similar, or kind of different, kind of unique. Like, it's the same layout, they have similar-ish objectives. This one I don't love, this one versus Trapped, but at least Trapped you, like, start midway through. Just gonna kill this, get the buff, gives a little bit of damage. But this one, you do need to kill the summoners at least, and you have, like, a specific order that you have to go in. The only thing that I think makes this one feel a little bit more annoying is that one of the advantages, I feel, of, hold on, I might need to close my door. Alright. My stepmom is in the other room, I think on a work call or something, so I don't want to... Obviously, I'm, you know, busy yapping, right? Don't want to interrupt. Straight into a trap. There's nothing in there, so now we can go up this door. The one reason why I like Talamon more is that Talamon is a lot more freeform, so while there are different ways to approach it, on each of the variants, you still have, like, a lot of freedom in how you route it. It doesn't really feel that restrictive. Twilight Crypts really, unless you are a Demon Hunter, right? And you can do some of those skips that I mentioned. Unless you're a Demon Hunter, it is a very linear delve in all three variants. And the only issue with that is also because it is a little bit different each time, that actually, in many cases, feels kind of a downside. In some cases, because it's the same fundamental thing of going room to room, but the order of the rooms is different in every single variant. And if you go in the wrong way, we're doing this for demonstration purposes, that happens, yay! And you get knocked back. And it can feel really annoying. I think, do I need to... Yeah, I don't need to activate that final lever, right? Or does that... Yeah, no. And that's the other thing, right? I was pretty sure, oh yeah, the other levers are superfluous, but I can't remember, because it's, like, fucking different every single time. So, I really hated Twilight Crypts early on. At this point, I'm kind of whatever about it, because now I have reached the point where I've basically... Like, I haven't hard memorized every single path outside of the one that is with the Calamitous Cycle, because I end up doing that one quite a bit. But I know most of them, like, roughly. So as I go through, you know, I'll be like, okay, I think I can just go to the end here. I am going to loot this just because it's literally like 2 feet away. If you get an upgrade, you get an upgrade. Cool. But yeah, so now I have them all memorized, so it doesn't feel quite as bad, but it's still, it's a little bit of a bummer. So those pants are an upgrade, but I don't have an armor kit for it. So it's not worth it. The main upgrade that I could get outside of trinkets would be, I believe, shoulders. So, okay. Come on, it landed behind weapon racks. The problem is, because I went out of war mode to do that stuff, any quests I do outdoors here are a little bit less efficient, but it's fine. Like, honestly, it really doesn't matter that much that, like, people don't realize the 15% buff. For the turn-in section, I will need it. Right? Absolutely. So, and what I'm going to do here, Leatrix Plus, disable automate quests, talk to you, find your Hearthstone here. Right. Now I'm going to re-enable Leatrix Plus, do this. And what I'm going to do right now is, because I need to just... do I... fuck it. Okay, I'll go back here for the tiny bit of XP. How do I want to approach this? Do I want to do all these quests? Do I care? Do I really care? I'll do these two. It's... I can't remember. Does this... Yeah, that gives full XP. Another Apex talent point. And then I could go over here, do the dance quest. Dance, talk. Here. Dance. And then, worst case scenario, if I think I'm short afterwards... Oh, shit. And then, of course... Yeah, I'm making a few mistakes. This is kind of one of the downsides of whenever I have to go off of Follow the Arrow. Improvising this stuff is... I mean, it's challenging, right? It's really challenging to properly do the improv for this. And make it work perfectly. Okay, I'm going to turn in the Ani quest. And then Ani's Jump Observed. We're just going to turn that in. And then now... I'm going to fly to Shadow Enclave. Yeah, I'm trying to think about, like, how I want to do this, right? We need to go back to Silvermoon. We need to go back to Silvermoon for the big turn-in. So I can... And I have my Hearth here to Amanizar Village to do those turn-ins. I'm out of vigor. Coast for a little bit, it's fine. So, Arcantina Key is one of them. And then I could... I'm not going to have Wormhole Generator, right? I don't think I'll have Wormhole Generator in time. This. Yeah, and see we get Trader's Due. Much better than Mirrorshine. Valera food is going to drop right here, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to refresh my flask. I don't have really any opportunities to refresh fried bonefish, but it's fine. Yeah, I don't know if fried bonefish is actually saving me 10 seconds of time in total. I don't really know if it's worth it to sit down and refresh it. And there likely will be at least, like, a moment where I can sit down for 10 seconds. I'm trying to think where that might happen, though. I don't actually know. At this point. So what do I still have? Collegiate Calamity, Parhelion Plaza, I believe. Right, I need to stay here to stop the ritual. I can't just keep kiting. I can keep track from the meta quests. Yeah, the meta quest is actually a really nice way to, like, without having to think. I think a Pangolin again. Doesn't really matter in this delve. It's pretty short. Yeah, so it's just those three. I'm already level 84. Honestly, I think, yeah, I've already done enough backup. The fact that I am missing a few quests, though, will hinder me a little bit. I'll have to see what my exact XP value is when I take the Hearthstone to Amanizar Village, but there are backup quests in Amanizar Village that I could do. What I'm also going to do, I should have checked this before I enter the delve. Technically speaking, if South Rills was very close by, I should have checked. If it was in a far location, I wouldn't have double-checked again. But I am still in war mode. So I think after this, yeah, this actually will work out quite well. Just do some executes. What could I do? I do have, if I'm like one quest off, I could do the Shukolitya Wanted quest after Grudge Pit turn-in as like a final bonus, because I haven't done that yet. And it is good XP, it's just like, I didn't think I really need it. But that is actually one of the nice things where if you don't do it early, it is a backup. It's technically faster than doing the Grudge Pit quest now, because unfortunately the Grudge Pit mobs don't really give any mob kill XP. And while the entire Grudge Pit chain is pretty good, the initial quests are actually a little bit slow. So if you're literally like one bar off, it actually won't be the best option. Alright, we got credit, so I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna quickly check my map to see where is... It's over there, fortify the runestones. Yeah, so you know what I'm gonna do? Because, like, I'm gonna lose a minute of travel time in one of two cases. Either I Arcantina Key now to save a little bit of travel time, but then it's not going to be up by the time I finish Parhelion Plaza, in which case I need to, like, dollar on Hearthstone or something. Or I save it for leaving Parhelion Plaza, and I just fly back to Silvermoon manually. And that, like, honestly, the time would be roughly the same. Now, in this case, there was a chance, right, that I found South Rills. In this case, it wasn't up. Oh well. But it's kind of like no harm, no foul here. Trying to be a little bit more conservative with my vigor usage. Fortunately, yeah, the phasing into Silvermoon bucked that one flap. But honestly, we landed pretty much perfectly. Alright, Invasive Blow. This is my bread and butter here. Invasive Blow is definitely for leveling, a teensy bit slower than Academy Under Siege, but not by much. Academy Under Siege, there's just some cool speedrun strats that you can do. Invasive Blow is it's still pretty good. And there are still, like, you can still speedrun this. The main thing for Academy Under Siege is it gives, on average, a little bit more mob kill XP. Okay, I need one more grenade. Something a lot of people don't realize is the grenade actually does damage to enemies, and it does noticeable damage. Now, the damage does scale with your delve level, so at low levels, it's not going to be a lot of damage, but you should try to, if you have, like, a spare grenade, a lot of times it is going to do more damage than your normal abilities. In this case, it's kind of fine. Lumen bulbs. Get this stuff. And now I need to make my way back to the boss. So I'm just going to start pulling everything. Grenades does damage and rounds up enemies. Should be a big pile of enemies coming up the stairs anytime soon. Those weeds. Okay, yeah, now they're all grouping up. Yeah, with my kind of overpowered gear, you can see it, honestly. Once they're all stacked up, grenade is no longer worthwhile to use. At this level. On tier 11, it does a lot of damage. So keep that in mind. Let's see. I'll use it semi-frequently, and we'll see what my, like, whenever, instead of doing, like, a filler here, so, like, I could spam Revenge, or I could just wait for Shield Slam to naturally come back up. Okay, do that, because we don't have any abilities to use. And we'll see, how much did it do as part of my overall? Let's see here. Actually, yeah, it was my #1 overall, so there you go. Even in leveling delves. I wasn't using it every single possible opportunity, but I did weave it in at logical points. Now, you know what I could do? Actually, oh, okay, this is good, this is good. Because I have the Amanizar Village Hearthstone, normally you want to start in Amanizar Village, but I can actually do that last. And that'll work out quite well, because then if I end up being short XP, after doing those final turn-ins, I'm right at, like, a quest-dense area. So that will actually be pretty optimal. It's actually going to be. It's going to be kind of close. I'm definitely, like, right now, I am smoking the pace that I set in my Druid run, so I am currently quite happy that I decided to redo this. It was definitely a good idea. I want to get Valera to start attacking him. Snapped. The nice thing is these are one of those things that you can actually interact with in combat, which is quite nice. So I don't need to worry about doing this. So as the mobs are grouping up, like I can do this, then I can do this, then I can use the daggers, which do crazy damage. And then we're going to keep moving. How many? Yeah, barricades. No, I'm good. Trust the process. I've done this path many times, and I know it gives me 8 barricades. So just gonna pull this guy, because why not? And then we're gonna hit it with the dagger. Okay. On the last barricades. I should get enough, yeah, perfect. Do this. This is speed boost. We can run here. I quite like this dull variant. It's unfortunate that the other two variants in Parhelion Plaza are just so awful. And this is one of the nice things about doing the strategy that I've advocated for a few times, where you... Well, I mean, you do exactly what I did here. Now, admittedly, I wasn't planning on doing this today. The literal only reason I even did the whole, like, delve variant across the daily reset thing is because I was feeling sick earlier when I first did the recording. And I mean, you saw, like, I literally queued for the dungeon, we hit Brackenhide. I would have done the run then and there. So the fact that we hit Brackenhide was actually the game kind of helping me out a little bit. Okay, so I leave Delve. Leave Delve, then our Cantina Key. There was a hostile shaman sitting outside. So let's just hope they don't bully. I think they're AFK. Alright. I am in war mode. It won't matter for Silver Moon anyway. But we have the full turn and stuff. And now we hand in. Now, I'm not sure if this is enough. I think I might be barely short, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll do these two. Yeah, works out well. Okay, 86. Spend talent points. It hardly matters, but sure. On the off chance that I have to do something later on, it won't hurt to have one more talent point. Alright. When it loads in, talk to you, talk to you, talk to you, talk to you again, because it always bugs out. Then we're going to go over here. Do this, do this, do this. Open up engineering and start crafting Evercore Shades as I get this sorted. Gives you a slight bit of a crafting speed. Fun little fact, most people probably don't know that file still works. It's not a lot, but like, I think you can notice, right? The very minor difference. And if you have to craft a lot of stuff, it adds up. Saves about 30 seconds, I'd say. Who has sent me 6 messages on Discord? 6 pings in guild Discord. I'm guessing my raid leader's doing, like, assignments or something. Whenever my raid leader does, like, raid assignments, he does an @everyone ping with literally every single boss. Hello? I definitely hit the create. It did not work. It's fine, though. But yeah, like, I don't mind getting @everyone pings, especially because, like, I look at our guild Discord, I see, like, 50 million pings, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's posted raid assignments for the week. But it does feel like, I wonder, like, why? Alright, we do... also, since I have had a few people ask, yes, you should still be doing crafting, obviously, if you value efficient leveling. If you want to save an extremely minor amount of gold, you can skip it, but it is, especially, like, I am doing the expensive route here, which saves, like, about a minute, and costs, like, a few extra 1,000 golds. And the route in Fall the Arrow is extremely cheap. Like, dirt cheap, and it's super easy to follow. Basically, this gives, like, about a Delver's Call and a half, is the way that you should think about it. And it takes, like, I mean, you could look back at the timer of, like, how long that entire process takes. Very, very, very little time to fully complete. The process of actually getting it all done is minuscule. And the other thing that people, like, I've heard people say they don't want to do crafting because they're lazy. It's like, lazy to press a button a few times? Especially, like, I can understand maybe, like, too lazy to figure it out, right? But the nice thing with Follow the Arrow is I tell you exactly what to craft. It's extremely simple. I mean, it's basically that with, like, a bit of disenchanting and then crafting some enchanting stuff mixed in. And that, like, there's just nothing special that you do. You just, you just do the standard thing. Okay, honestly, we have 3 Delver's Calls to turn in. I did not, I'm kind of, if this works out the way that I think it's about to work out, I'm actually quite proud of myself. Yeah, I feel like we are on pace to be, like, literally bang on. I actually think that I adapted this perfectly, given the circumstances. And if so, like, holy shit, W me. I'm gonna barely overshoot, I think, actually. Ever so slightly barely overshoot. Please don't kill me. That would be so rude. You have the option to not kill me. You chose not to kill me. Thoros Stormrage, if you ever watch this, you are a good man. I appreciate you. Is that it? That's it. Holy! We were 9 seconds off sub 30. Or sub 130. Wow. Well, I did end up beating my my non-Turbulent Timeways run, after all. Do I just, like... Man, do I just post this to the main channel? I really didn't think I was actually gonna beat my time. Damn. I'm quite happy with that. Especially considering, like, we didn't have Calamitous, right? Now, I did get, I think, I got pretty lucky with the dungeons. It wasn't, like, perfect RNG, but it was decent RNG. And the combination of A and C variants, while not maybe, like, as good, I think was quite close to what I would have gotten if I did all Calamitous. In some cases, a bit faster. In some cases, a little bit slower. I think on average, it was close. Doing all A or all C, you would have hit some that were like really slow. So definitely, I had to do it this way, right? Like Mirror Shine would have added an entire few minutes to this. Stuff like that slows you down quite a bit. But that adaptation, I'm quite happy with. Shit. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's like, I'm planning to do... It feels weird to, like, technically, I got a new record, right? But there's, like, you know, this has been such a disorganized run. And the other thing is, I know for a fact that I'm going to beat this multiple times. Like, I'm probably, even though Death Knight is not, like, a speedrun character, the Death Knight run that I'm going to do is going to be, what's it called? It's going to be, actually, and also, I wasn't paying attention, but I think I did, like, barely overshoot there, but my math was almost bang on for 84.5. If anything, I probably didn't need to do the 2 quests in Amani's Village, so I maybe lost, like, a minute or two. That was, like, the difference between sub 130 or not. Like, oh well. The thing about Timewalking dungeons, right, is they are slow, right? Like, people really fail to understand that. They are very slow. Now, you do them because obviously having this 30% modifier is massive, and it amplifies everything else. It's undoubtedly faster, but I think, if anything, the real, like, I think key thing to keep in mind about the leveling difference is this was 8 minutes faster than my previous record that I got at the start of 12.0.7 without the 30% buff. And 8 minutes is not a lot, right? And then also, while there were some massive issues that I ran into on the PTR, the run that I did before on the Druid actually ended up being like 15-ish minutes slower. I think realistically it would have been about like 3 to 5 minutes slower than my previous run, but I actually do think that I unironically was behind compared to my 138 run. I got, like, slightly worse RNG, right? Like, it took me a few minutes longer to do the dungeons. I ran into, like, a few problems. I definitely could have played that run better overall. I will admit, once the PTR started giving me issues, I got really tilted. And while I've been throwing around 10 minutes, I don't know exactly how much time I left. In fact, the fact that I got a 130 in this run makes me think I may have lost more than 10 minutes, because I don't feel like I was playing that poorly to lose that much time, almost, like, nearly 25 minutes. So, maybe I was just doing worse than I thought. But, I think that really should go to show that, even with the 30% buff, like, this actually isn't that much faster. The bulk of the time save is just the 12.0.7 changes. But the key thing to keep in mind with the Turbulent Timeways buff is that it's actually very efficient to do dungeons for, like, the first 10 to 20 levels of Chromie time. Because at that point, you don't have War Mode for the first 10 levels, so Chromie time is at its worst there. And there are, like, Chromie time definitely has, like, different tiers, roughly, of efficiency. And if you don't do dungeons, then towards the end of the Chromie time route, you're going to reach a point where you're doing things that are not necessarily hyper efficient. So if you do dungeons early on, then you basically get to only do the most, like, efficient possible things for Chromie time, kind of like for 80 to 90, you know, we get to only do the delves, which are, like, the most efficient thing possible, and Legends of the Heroneer, which you should always do. It takes 1 minute, super fast, obviously. So, and South Roll Soiree, I do think, like, the time I spent to get that, you could maybe look at that as, like, oh, that was wasted time. And considering the fact that I did end up overshooting, I think that, like, that might be accurate, but I do think it is worth checking South Rolls. I don't think that you should completely ignore it. Just because if you happen to swing by and the runestone's about to be complete, then that is pretty good. And then, especially if you don't have, like in this case, I think I started with like a bar of rested experience in this character, so you might be like 1 level behind me, and that basically is almost entirely covered by South Roll Soiree, because it gives a big chunk of XP. It's definitely worth looking for. So, I think that doing the quests in Amanizar Village was probably a miscalculation on my part. I don't necessarily think I miscalculated by looking for South Rolls. I think that was fine. You know, maybe you could argue it was. I think it was a logical adaptation, especially because I had no way to know that I was actually way further ahead. Like, the fact that you can just turn in at 84.5 now and be fine is... It's kind of fucking crazy. This is without Dark and Fair buff, mind you. So, all that to say, though, the dungeons do slow things down quite a bit. And if you can not do the dungeons, like, they only give you about 2 levels. And I didn't end up doing South Rails, I didn't end up doing, like, Eversong. There's a lot of stuff that you could do for those 2 levels that would be faster than 36 minutes, which is how long it took me to do the dungeons here, but honestly, definitely faster than how long it would take the average person, right, if you're using Follow the Arrow. So you could probably get those done in, like, 15 to 20 minutes, those first 2 levels. I don't think that is unreasonable to say at all. And if you go in already with the early stuff, with the 30% buff, if you, say, got it at, like, the 10 to 20 range, and then you finished an entire run, and then you still are carrying the 30% buff into 80 to 90 without having to do any time-walking dungeons, then for those first 2 levels, you're also getting 30% more experience right off the rip, instead of having to do the dungeons first to get that buff. And then imagine, like, you know, when I do the Blood DK run this weekend, I'm going to have the Darkmoon Fair 10% buff, and that run, like I said, is going to be a 10 to 90 run. So I know for a fact, just mathematically speaking, I am going to obliterate this time in that, I think I've been saying Blood DK run. I haven't decided if I'm playing Blood, Frost, or Unholy. I really don't know. But when I do that run, I'm going to just smoke this time. It's just a mathematical certainty, because I'm going to go in with the 30% buff in 80 to 90. Now, obviously, it's going to, you know, that is still going to eat into the 10 to 80 time, so it's not like it's completely free, but it is still worth doing in the 10 to 80 section of the run, but then I will save so much time in 80 to 90. I don't know. I think it is unlikely that I get a sub 1 hour time. In that case, I don't think that is probably going to happen for the DK run, but I definitely think like close to 1 hour 15 minutes, if not a little bit faster, is realistic. And either way, faster than this. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. I will quit yapping, because I have a lot of shit I gotta do. I need to, what's it called? I need to go do raid testing in a few hours at the time of recording this. I need to get this video uploaded to YouTube, and then pretty much the moment raid testing is done, well, I think I'll probably be dead tired and I'll have to sleep. And then I'm likely going to wake up around midnight, and I'm going to basically non-stop work on, like, finish editing the video to make sure that I have it posted by Friday. And show, like, hey, yeah, Dungeon Spam, now faster. So, there you go. But yeah, thanks for watching. How long did the total video end up being? Total video ended up being over 2 hours, because I yapped for 40 minutes to start, but I think it was worthwhile. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And spread the word. If you see people saying on Reddit and shit, like, oh, dungeon spam so fast, if you want to level, it's so good. Just, like, let them know. Say, like, hey, you know, Harldan tested this, it's not. And again, I think always be respectful, right? Tell people if they enjoy it. And this is the nuance that always gets missed in my arguments. If you enjoy dungeon spam, which a lot of people at least claim they do, not something I can personally relate to, but if somebody claims that and they genuinely mean it and they're not just like using it to win an argument and they're like, oh, but I enjoy it more, then hey, you know what? More power to them, right? Let them do what they want to do. The issue I tend to have is when people will actively try and say it is so much faster. It's always been faster. You know, it's better than questing. Questing sucks. And it's just like, look, just because you are not good at questing does not mean something is faster. Just because a method is better for you, because you don't want to spend the time downloading Follow the Arrow and, like, you know, doing at least one run to get your bearings, maybe. Some people, I mean, say it's even faster on their very first run. I don't think it's that hard to figure out, but, like, look, if you plan on leveling a lot of alts, I think one run where you can maybe argue would be ever so slightly slower just to figure out what you're doing. And then, I mean, at this point, right, honestly, it kind of just boils down to do the fucking delves, but even then, like, the nice thing about Follow the Arrow now is it'll teach you to adapt. I will say I've thought about making, like, an adaptation module of, with the time walking buff, what are some things that you can do to account for it. In theory, that sounds good, but the problem is that would be irrelevant the moment Turbulent Timeways ends, and it would be very complicated to set up. And the reality is, I want to make sure I get the 1 to 80 stuff done before 12.1, along with some other features. So it's just, you know, I gotta make sure I have my priorities correct for things like that. But all of the information is there in Follow the Arrow for anybody to adapt on their own. And I've been yapping for way too long, so I'm just going to end here. But yeah, again, you know, spread the word. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.